Hello, everyone. I'm going to try to keep this real brief because it's kind of late and I'm getting a little tired, but I kind of wanted to make this video. It's stuff that console stuff that I picked up but forgot. I didn't find it when I made my other video. And somebody wanted to see what else I got. It's nothing really that great, but you know, I show you anyways. So I'm going to start off with some strategy guides. On the first few I actually found a long time ago, but I never showed off, and they're basically, I'm showing you just because I figure, Scott, you might want some of these. But the first one is Xenosaga Episode 1. Ratchet and Clank, Tools of Destruction, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, Final Fantasy Tactics, Legaia 2 Dual Saga. This one I'm going to wait and show you guys last because it's probably the best thing that I'm going to show you. So this will be last. Final Fantasy 13. That's not one. Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy 10. That's not one. Final Fantasy 5 Advanced. This one, the cover feels like it had gotten wet, but the pages aren't bad. It just feels like the cover was damp or something. Final Fantasy 3. Final Fantasy 7 Dirge of Cerberus. Metroid Prime Hunters. Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro. Medal of Honor Rising Sun. And Devil May Cry 2. Those all came out of my sister does like storage unit auctions and regular auctions. She has a secondhand store, and that she got for me. Well, most of them except for the first couple she got for me from an auction. Next up, they're not the same system, but I'm going to show them to you together because they came from the same place. It was an antique store that I think they were like a couple bucks a piece, but they just had some games for some reason. Sonic Heroes on PlayStation 2. It's fairly scratched up, but I don't know. I need to check it, make sure it would work. Ape Escape on PlayStation 1. Again, some scratches. And Star Wars Battlefront on Xbox. I think maybe I got these all for like $5 total. But I need to test them all out. They do have, I don't want to say real bad scratches, but they do have some scratches, and I do need to test them out to see if they would work. Next up, these all came out of a storage unit. Most of them aren't really that great, but I did, in that same storage unit, we got a fat PlayStation 2, no network adapter. It does have an official memory card and cables and a controller. I did not test it to see if it would read anything yet. But inside there was, I'm just going to kind of do it like this because none of them are really that great. Batman the video game. Buzz Jr. Jungle Party is on top. A disc-only Mercenaries. Then there's Capcom Fighting Evolution Tekken Tag Tournament, ESPN NFL 2K5, NBA Live 2005, MX versus ATV Unleashed, GoldenEye Rogue Agent, Def Jam Vendetta, Major League Baseball 2K5, MVP Baseball, Rocky, SOCOM 2, Fight Night Round 2, Fight Night Round 3, ESPN 2K5, Fight Night 2004, Max Payne, Tekken 5, and Mafia. It would happen that well, she's been buying storage units for a couple years now, and that was like the biggest video game find that we ever had, and of course they're mostly sports titles. So next up in another storage unit, actually I think it was the same one. There was an original Xbox, which is in the other room, with cables and a controller, and then some disc-only games. Again, most of these are fairly scratched up, and I don't even know if they would work. But just to show you guys everything, Full Spectrum Warrior. Actually, I think some of these may have a box over there. None of these were in boxes, but there was a bunch of empty Xbox boxes. America's Army, Xbox Arcade, Ghost Recon Advanced Warrior, and MX Unleashed. Again, nothing great, but just kind of show you guys everything. Next up in that same storage unit was a handful of PlayStation games. There's actually a demo disc, which I don't even know why I'm showing you, but it's Crash Bash and Spyro Year of the Dragon demo disc. VMX Racing. This one actually isn't that bad of a title, but it's kind of scratched up on both sides actually, so it probably would not work, but I will test it out. But it's Spyro Ripto's Rage, and that did include a case. Of course, it wasn't in the case, but the manual and the insert for the case is actually not bad, and I believe I have a copy of this, another copy that's probably not as scratched up that I can pair this up with. So that's good, at least. The manual for VMX Racing, Chicken Run, SmackDown 2, and ESPN NFL 2K5. Next up, let's continue with these PlayStation games that I picked up at thrift stores. If I could get them out here. A copy of Death Trap Dungeon, Resident Evil Director's Cut, and I believe it does have it has the demo for Resident Evil 2, but it does not have a manual. Final Fantasy Anthology, and that does have the manual. And then Fox Hunt in the little box, but there is no manual. I believe the manual was the insert for the disc 1, but there is no insert for disc 1, and the insert for disc 2 and 3 are only just tiny little pieces of paper, and of course the jewel case is kind of broken, but they're in fairly nice shape. I was actually amazed I found this because it sat long enough for the color to be the half off, which is amazing, but it was like in a case under something else, and so people probably didn't notice it. Next up, a few soundtracks. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time soundtrack. And these I got at a thrift store, and for all I know, they could be bootlegs. I'm not really that into game soundtracks very much. But, again, you're not going to be able to see this because I have the contrast fixed, so I get better frame rate because my webcam sucks. But you can kind of make it out there. Then Legacy of Ys Books 1 and 2 original soundtrack, or possibly bootleg. I don't know too much about soundtracks. And this I got at a pawn shop for a couple bucks. I think this is all that came with it, but there might have been a booklet. But the Mario Galaxy official soundtrack, the disc, I believe it's in good shape. Let me double check if I can get it out. Yeah, there's a few light scratches, but nothing major. But I think there was a book that came on this side. I'm not sure. I never did have this, but I don't know. Next up, some of these I may have shown you already, but I'm not entirely sure. So I'll show you again if I did show you already. Some SNES games, Goof Troop, Donkey Kong Country, and Virtual Bart. Then I have a few Game Gear games, and I have a Game Gear in the other room that I have not tried to see if it works. These were from an auction. Super Columns with all of the Game Gear games have the case. Lion King, NHL 95, and Caesar's Palace. Then there's a few regular Game Boy games. Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories, Kirby's Dream Land, Tetris, TMNT Follow the Foot Clan. You can see that. Donkey Kong, and Jurassic Park. And then 3 Game Boy Advance games. NFL Blitz 2003. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and American Bass. And some of those Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games were in a baggie at a thrift store for like $5. That's why I have some of the crappier titles. Don't fall down. Thank you. Next up, a couple NES games. Tecmo Super Bowl, Metroid, Chrysalis, and there's something loose in there. I don't know what exactly that is, but probably, I don't know. I need to check these two and make sure they work. I need to unbox and hook up all my systems though. And Shadowgate. Then those were all at a pawn shop, and at the same pawn shop I picked up 4 Nintendo cases. Then finally, second to last actually, because I have that one strategy guide still. I got some kart-only DS games. Mario Kart DS, if you can see that. Of course you can't. Pokemon Pearl and Chrono Trigger. Again, you can't see that because it's all blown out. But these were 3 for $20. It's the same pawn shop that I get a lot of, not really a lot, but I get some Game Boy Advance and DS games. They usually have big rows for 3 for $20, and these were $20 for all 3. And the little case you threw in for free. Those I all did test out, and they all work. And and I also tested the Game Boy Color that I showed you earlier, and it does work. Finally, again, probably the best thing that I had found, a Suikoden 2 guide. Unfortunately, there was no sign of the game anywhere to be found in the thrift store, and I probably missed it, but this was not a bad find still. even without the game. There are marks, and I've found strategy guides before where people would do this. As they found characters, they would, you're not going to be able to see this, but they would, like, you know, X out or put little marks on their faces. This isn't as bad as some of the ones that I found, but I mean, it's still a nice guide. I mean, it's not really in that bad of a shape. There are them marks in there, but it's not too bad. That's pretty much most of the marks are on the faces of the characters, and it's just like one or two marks, and then there are some weird marks on the back here that you're not going to be able to see, that they're down there. But yeah, I think that's about it for now. Yeah, that's about it for now. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope, Scott, you found some more stuff you're interested in, and I'll talk to you all later.